This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, True Seekers and True Crime Junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I wanted to just start off the show this morning with something fabulous. I did an event last night, which I volunteered to drive the KJ to Oakland, California, in which case we were hosted by Sutter Hospital Cancer Patients Ward, where we brought music, fun, and support to the community, helping those that are kind of stuck in their sickness or their illness and not really having a lot going on, because when you feel that way, you don't really get out to events. You don't get really out of the hospital in some cases. So we brought karaoke to them and we had a wonderful evening. It was our first little pilot program, I believe, because it appears as though it's something that may take off. The doctor that invited us out is part of alternative medicines, which I applaud her for. Western medicine isn't always the only way to go. So we're seeing the combination or the infusion of Western and Eastern medicine. She does acupuncture and she feels that music is something that could help heal the soul, provide happiness. And that's exactly what we saw last night. So Thank you to the doctor. Thank you to Sutter for allowing us to put this on. And I hope that eventually it extends to more hospitals, maybe even to the children's ward of the cancer patients, so that they can have a little bit of fun as well. We know how much children love to sing. So on my soapbox, I'm going to welcome Harriette Sucher to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It'll be a great show today.
Yes, it is, as long as my voice holds out, because we did a lot of singing last night.
We can do it. we both can blab a lot. We can do it.
Well, if you heard that intro there, I went to the Oakland, California Sutter Hospital, and we performed a karaoke show, which the patients were able to get up and sing. We had some of them that were capable up and dancing with us. It was absolutely a blast. I had such a good time. And the people that I went with are phenomenal. I mean, amazing souls. I just absolutely love them.
Yeah, well, I think music is good for the soul.
Absolutely, 100%. It brings the masses together. It heals. It causes memories. You know, you get melancholy, you get sad, you get happy, you get love. It's fun. There's so many emotions built up in it. So happy to say that we had a great crew and a lot of great singers that were out there. And it was funny because every time a new person walked in, they'd say, "I don't ever sing. I don't sing." And then the next thing you know, they get up there and they belt it out like they've been singing in their shower for the last 30 years. I call that an over-disclosure. Don't come into a karaoke event and say, "I don't sing," and then get up there and knock it out of the park.
I used to I got into singing. That's the one thing that Dennis and I had in common, was aside from this, was the music. And I gave him a brand new guitar when he came to move in. He said, "You want me to have this guitar?" I said, "I bought it. I used it once, but I'm just not into guitar anymore." And so that's the one thing that we definitely had in common. And I can tell you, Dennis had the electric guitar. He could play those riffs.
Well, and he was personal friends with the band. He was personal friends with the band Tesla. So evidently he, spent a lot of time around that band. And I'm sorry that I didn't get an opportunity to meet them. He did at one point in time want to solicit them for support in his endeavor. And I thought we were going to meet them, but we did not. Either way, Yes, you're absolutely correct. It moves the masses. So I always often wonder when a artist who does move the masses, like Elvis Presley or John Denver or Bob Marley, and these people, die at an age which is way too early for their time, exactly what was going on there. I mean, if these people can pull together millions of people in joy and harmony, I'm sure that's something that the separatist does not want to have happen. All right. So we're going to follow up with what I believe are going to be the final answers in the Peter Wilson case. I did receive the final letter back that answered all of the questions that I've been looking for, and I think most of our listeners have been looking for as well. So we're going to start with why he had his money in a safety deposit box. The answer to that is, and he sent me 7 different letters from Bank of America. So evidently he was banking with Bank of America, and he was consistently having his deposits misplaced, placed into other people's accounts. His checks were bouncing because his deposits weren't being deposited into his account. And I've never seen so many apology letters from a bank in my life. Inside of about 3 years, this man had lost several deposits and had several issues, and it was apology after apology after apology. So he finally went to Wells Fargo and he opened a safety deposit box because he was informed that there were 2 keys involved with this. One that the bank would have that could not open the box independently, one that he would have. So it would require both of them to actively use those keys to get into his safety deposit box. And that's where he felt his money was safe. The question was, how did he have access to $300,000 and $400,000 in this particular scenario, being a 31-year-old student in Stanford, renting a room? The answer to that is that he had some antique art that he sold one piece in February for $300,000. That is the $300,000 that he then loaned to Kim in order to secure a rent-free position in her house for 9 months. The $400,000 that he states was stolen from his backpack in the illegal search and seizure by Officer Michael Yore was from the second piece of antique art that he had sold on March 29th. So talk about it's like every time I get more information from this man, he was done so dirty, and it just seems to get that much worse. So total in this act of being framed for this murder, he has lost $700,000 because, of course, Kim's family they're not even making a peep or a word about this money. And I'm sure that she had it in cash in the house. Had it been in a bank account, it would have fell into her estate when she passed away. And that would have been recognized as part of the estate, in which case Mr. Wilson could have made a claim against the estate for that money based on the contract that he had and had loaned her that money. So he in total lost $700,000 in 30 years of his life in this one act. Now, I did want to read a couple of his excerpts rather than just highlighting them myself. And one of those was the testimony of, of Lloyd Cunningham. So basically, he wrote me and said, Lloyd W. Cunningham, forensic document examiner, testified in trial, the second trial in February of 2000, for the prosecutor that 3 rent receipts were all prepared freely and fluently. That means that they were written fairly rapidly. And if somebody was forging a document, typically the writing is much slower and sometimes tremulous. And he's absolutely correct. So if she had been under duress or she had been under stress, we would have seen some inconsistencies in that handwriting, but he's stating that it's written fluidly and freely. That does not describe somebody who's being forced to write a letter. Let's see. And then the Yore accusations. He says the former Palo Alto police officer Michael Yore unlawfully broke into evidence room in police department on Sunday, March 31st, 1996, and stole $400,000 in cash. His Caltrans ticket, which is a receipt that shows he was out of the city at that time that the murder was occurring, purchased in San Francisco at 11:33 on Saturday at 3:30, 1996, and a handwritten note for finding a woman's purse in Rogers Restaurant at 1:30 on Saturday, 3:30, 1996, which we've discussed as the time frame in which the DA has pinned down when Miss Kim was killed. and rental receipts from my backpack, and 1 vial of my reference blood sample from evidence refrigerator. And now we've all seen what I've done with the handwriting on that, and it does indicate and show that Officer Michael Yore removed 1 vial of blood from property evidence on a Sunday with no intentions of delivering that to the lab, because the lab was not open until Monday, in which case the balance of the forensic evidence went to the lab. Now, the $400 that I was under the impression that was what was taken from his backpack, he says there was also a $400 inside front pocket of my backpack, but that wasn't taken, he says. So they took the 400 grand, but not the $400. Let's leave some change behind. And we did see Officer Brooks's report about the search and seizure that occurred on April 1st based on the search warrant, and he does indicate small change, but I'm assuming that that was the $400. So Yore also perjures himself in testimony, and I've read all these transcripts. So anything that I've highlighted in here that I'm going to speak about, I've read the transcripts. We know that it was entered into court. This is not just statements that Mr. Wilson is telling me. Yore perjures himself when he testifies to searching and seizing only on April 1st, 1996 with Officer K.L. Gibson. The evidence obviously supports otherwise, because now we have the alibi note, we have the receipt from Caltrans, and we have a missing $400,000 that all occurred on March 31st, and now explains why the motive for Officer Yore to so quickly frame Mr. Wilson for this case. Let's see. Coleman testifies that every Sunday he and Kim go into the basement for 5 minutes. I'm not sure what Mr. Wilson's insinuation is behind that, whether or not they were having relations, but that would kind of refute the testimony of her family, stating that she was not involved with any other men after her divorce. But it doesn't also say that they were having sexual relations. And if they were having sexual relations and they were going down into the basements every Sunday for 5 or so minutes, he wouldn't have had to have raped her, because obviously if he's insinuating that they're having affairs, why would he have to rape her and murder her? Mr. Wilson is Canadian, so we did confirm that. Miss Kim sells the cleaners. So this was another question. When did she sell the cleaners? How did this transpire? Why did she need this money from Mr. Wilson? Miss Kim sells the cleaners in 1988. I want to say that this was right around the time when her son was actually arrested for drug trafficking and money laundering. And 2 of the vehicles that were found at his house that were seized were actually either part owned by Kim or owned by the cleaners itself. So that may have been a way to raise the money for his defense. I'm not exactly sure, but it said that she profited approximately $20,000 to $30,000. She then turns around and buys a video store that she sells in 1992. And at the time of her death, she had only $6,000 to $7,000 in her bank account, and that's per her son's testimony. So he's not stating anything in regards to this $300,000 that Wilson has lent her. And of course, he seems to almost even be directing testimony of other people. There's testimony in the trial transcripts that indicate that the bailiff or the deputy had watched Mr. Kim, which is Miss Kim's son, sitting in the courtroom, nodding his head, shaking his head as if to instruct and direct her sister to say the right things. He indicates that she had very little left, that she was living off of the money from the sales of these businesses, but that all of a sudden she came up with some unknown money, he says. Now, in one part of his testimony, he says that he was very much aware of all her business transactions because he was basically a partner in all of it. But then turned around and said some unknown source of money was going to help her buy a Dairy Bell. So that's what she was attempting to do with this money that had been lent to her by Mr. Wilson. She had placed an offer on March 11th for $80,000. The seller of the Dairy Bell counteroffered for $120,000. So they were in negotiations over her buying this particular, I don't know if a Dairy Bell is like a Dairy Queen or what back in 1996, what that was called. But it was basically kind of a little restaurant type deal. And Kim's son also testified that Kim had no income from 1992 to 1996, except for the $975 a month from renters. And then she received the balance of support to make her house payment, to get food, to pay her bills from somebody named Dr. Caen. So he's trying to make it appear as though she has kind of a sugar daddy. So why some random individual is going to be paying her bills doesn't really scream she's not involved with other guys, because she obviously, if she isn't just, using him for the money that he's providing for her as support, then she might have some type of affairs with him.
So Dairy Bell, they sell milkshakes and tacos?
I don't know what they sell.
Spicy milk.
Right.
Spicy milk to go with those spicy tacos.
Maybe the owner,
this sounds like a plan for me.
Maybe when the owner sold the Dairy Bells, he created Taco Bell and Dairy Queen.
No, they were around way before that.
But it was very interesting to see Richard's, her son's testimony in these trial transcripts, because he was extremely wishy-washy when it came to funds. And for him to say some unknown source of money as if he wasn't aware, he would have found this contract that they had made in regards to the $300,000. He would have found the $300,000. How was it that she was going to come up with $80,000 or $120,000 for this particular establishment unless she had cash on hand? Since we know she only had $6,000 to $7,000 in her bank account, she couldn't refinance her house to pull the equity out, and she didn't have that rental property that she claimed to Mr. Wilson she was trying to sell and cover the rents until that property sold. So there's a whole lot of not telling the truth going on here on Miss Kim's side.
Right.
Coleman also
is your hypothesis that the money went to the son to help him with his drug business?
You know what? No, because I landed on some research that indicates, like I said last time we were following up, that he's in he owns property in Saratoga, which again is another high-end area. Right. He owns a business, or is a CEO of an LED business that makes LED screens for all different types of technical devices.
But maybe that's how he got to that point with funding from it.
He had enough money to go clean and to go straight. And maybe if there's any way to track how all of that occurred and started, maybe there's a way to track that money. But I'm feeling a little bad for Mr. Wilson, because 30 years is a really long time. Most of your banks only keep records for 30 years or for 10 years, and some 7. So it's insane to try and go back and track this money, or obviously get Richard Kim to confess to the fact that he found $300,000 in mattress money. But there's enough evidence to show that Miss Kim was given that money by Mr. Wilson. So Coleman testifies that he deposits cash for rent along with Wilson's rent check into Kim's Union Bank account monthly. And that's the proof that Wilson had been paying rent, despite what you found, Harriette, which indicated that he had not been paying rent and that he was trying to do some type of finagling to, abscond with Kim's house. Simply not true. Mr. Wilson said that he paid cash, or Mr. Coleman said that he paid cash. And eventually, I guess, Miss Kim didn't want cash anymore. So she would sign the check that Mr. Wilson would give her. She would give that to Coleman, and Coleman would take and deposit it at the bank for her. So again, that kind of screams a little more personal interactions between her and Coleman, because I'm not going to go make somebody's deposit for him. That's your business. Go handle your business.
Yeah. I got some things to add to this, and maybe I'll set aside some time to do more lining up the ducks. But there is something that matches around in the 80s to circa 1990. That's a major drug bust that happened in this area where this guy was going to pick up stuff at the taxi a few years earlier, and that some people got arrested, some people got in trouble. So fast forward, that was the tail end of the one of the cartels, the big cartels. He dies, Pablo Escobar, and morphs into the Cali cartel. And if you owed anybody, even from the past, they would do versions of blackmailing, $300,000 with interest. So I was thinking, my God, I'm finding something that's matching there, that's cross-connected.
Well, The evidence is actually kind of winding out that it may not have been a money laundering situation for her, at least partially, because she's considering buying something else. She's
it was looking like a money laundering operation, and that's the form of blackmail for these people.
But what I'm saying is I'm not believing the cartel connection anymore. It was 1988, 8
That's
years
right.
before this.
Yeah.
No. 8 years before her death, her son was caught up in money laundering.
That's what they do. Anyways, we'll keep going.
My point is that there was evidence to suggest she was looking to invest, and this was from word of mouth by the other friends of Mr. Wilson, who understood what it was that Mr. Wilson was engaging into with Miss Kim in this business transaction. So the fact that she's going to go invest $80,000 to $120,000 into this business does not scream money laundering. It screams she was legitimately looking to do an investment to make money so that she could live, because she had no income for approximately 4 or 5 years. So Coleman also testified that I got that, sorry. And as far as the cigarette butt that's found down in the basement, Mr. Wilson indicates that no one in the house smokes, not even Mr. Coleman. So is that evidence of a even further third-party culpability outside of Coleman himself? So it's getting a little shady up there as far as whether or not Coleman is the one that committed the crime, because now we have a cigarette butt that should have tested out for some DNA that may or may not have matched either of Coleman or Wilson. Forensic testing by Nancy Marte. So we asked about whether or not he had blood underneath his fingernails, or if there was blood of Miss Kim's on his bandages, or anything that would indicate that he had committed this crime at the hour. Well, they obviously backdated it about 12 hours, but I would have thought that had he killed her, he would have had her blood somewhere on him. And he had been gone since 2 p.m. the earlier day, freshly bandaged. They did not find any of Miss Kim's blood underneath his fingernails. The Nancy Marte, the criminalist, said that she found what she considered to be debris, but not blood. All of the bandages, they tested a few of the large pieces of bandages that were on the outside of his wrap, and there were no blood sources from Miss Kim on that either. So again, we have somebody completely clear and clean, and all of the forensics are indicating that her blood is not on him, yet they're claiming his blood was on her without any damages to support that. There was no cuts, there was nothing on his hands or otherwise to indicate he would have bled all over Miss Kim at the time she had been killed. Trial transcripts indicate that there's a request to impeach Kim's sister, and that's because the son is a liar. And that's when the deputy of the court witnessed and informed Mr. Parkasu that after Richard Kim's testimony, he remained in the courtroom during Miss Shin's testimony. Now, if you remember, Miss Shin is Miss Kim's sister, and they went to the police department after her son had been arrested, and they had seized $20,000 from the trunk of a car that was co-owned by Kim, Richard Kim, and Hokju Kim. And the sister claimed that she had removed that money from the bank, the $20,000. It belonged to her. She took it out of the bank because she was filing for benefits through the county to get low-income housing, and that her and Kim had borrowed the car, which makes no sense to me. They live in two totally different towns. If Kim has got her own BMW, why would she drive all the way to her son's to pick up his Mustang to go shopping at the Oriental store? In which case, Miss Shin had deposited that $20,000 into the trunk, forgetting about it and leaving it for it to be actually seized by the police department. And mind you, it was wrapped in 2 black plastic trash bags that reeked of pot. So probably not her money, but they were both willing to stand up, tell this lie in order to try and get this money back. And maybe that money was what Miss Kim thought would be a defense for her son, and ultimately ended up having to sell the cleaners in order to provide a defense for him. Who knows?
So basically the daughter or the sister's admitting under oath that she was about to commit some sort of fraud to get low-income housing?
Yep. And they walked right on into the police department the night after Richard Kim had been arrested and the money had been seized from the car. That was all an impound. Walked right into the police department and told the police that. Suffering the lesser of the two crimes.
Well, it sounds like
the money,
all the
right?
testimony in this case is shady. Coleman's testimony is shady. Her testimony is shady. It's all. Yeah. How did the jury convict? I don't get it.
Because the DA. The DA was successful in getting all of the evidence of third-party culpability
excluded.
Yeah, exactly. So basically he had no defense, and her belief was, the DA's belief is, we don't want to confuse the jury or waste the jury's time. The hell you say? You're looking at convicting a man for murder. It's the rest of his life that you have imprisoned him. The hell you say he doesn't have a defense? That is his only defense. He didn't do it.
That's terrible. That's not justice.
No. So it says Richard Kim.
Even if he did do it, it wasn't a fair trial.
Exactly. All evidence should be at play.
Process. Come on.
When I go into the courtroom and the opposition tries to get me impeached or state that I'm not fit for testimony or what have you, it is ultimately always granted. I'm always accepted and qualified as an expert. And I think it's because most judges are afraid of an appeals process. They don't want it to come up on appeal because they violated that individual's rights. So in this case, he should have been given full reign to test all of the forensics, to get the tests that the DA had completed themselves. So remember, again, she also excluded at the trial all the forensic testing of the semen, the sperm, the cigarette butt. Everything was excluded from that second trial.
That's terrible. And see, it's up to the defense attorney and the judge to step up at that point and to fight back and to say, wait a minute, no. We saw Mr. Parascu attempting to do that in the testimony that I read off. He was trying to get the judge. Back him,
No, the judge did not back him. It was that was a sad state of affairs. And the other side of that is that the forensic testing on those items were never provided to the defense. So they never got it in the first place. That's withholding from the first trial.
How long afterwards did the DA become a judge?
That year.
I think they were already rubbing elbows.
Exactly. She was supposed to, I think, take her seat in 2002, but she was granted that seat in 2000 and she took it early. So that's basically the research I read.
Wow.
All right. So this is something new that I just discovered because we keep talking about who removed these two particular pages. And every time I looked at the entry, and that's up here in this right-hand corner right here where it says, where'd you go? Oh, hello. No. I did not want to do that. No. Hide. All right, we're still there. Okay. So basically up here on this right-hand corner, it says I removed page 9, and it has some semblance of looks like initials rather than a signature, and I removed page 126. When I initially looked at these were obviously not something that looks like Officer Yours' signature. We can see his signature down here on the bottom of the left-hand side. And so I didn't naturally take a look at these thinking that it was him. And since there's so many accusations by Mr. Wilson that the DA was involved with the cover-up, that I thought maybe this could be Linda Ruth Condren. This almost looks like it could be an LRC. But I started to look, and this little area up here at the top of the D is something that's really bothered me. I thought, who makes a D like that? And basically what's happening here is that they're extending from the left up to the right. They're drawing down and then back around and then ending underneath the actual bowl of the D, which is why we do not see a tail sticking down. There's no ending to this D that you would see in a natural formation. And so it had bothered me for quite some time, figuring that is going to be a characteristic we should be able to find in the individual author's handwriting. So I went back and started looking at the evidence logs that were the interviews of different people that Mr. Yor had filled out. And when I found this, we see this D right here in medical, and we see that this E comes up and under and straight up to the top of that stem. It comes back down and it wraps around, leaving no tail at the bottom. I thought, holy crap, did I just find the individual who removed these pages? So I went a little further and I started to look at other things, like the way the E actually works its way into the N being dropped down and the E rising up above that letter N. And when I looked over here, we saw the same thing. We've got this E that's way above, and we've got this letter M that is dropped down below. So again, it's kind of a ratio and a relationship of those particular letters. And it even occurs in the second one over here, where once again, the E is higher than the M, and the M is bounced down a level. So I looked at the letter
weird
B.
Writing. It's really strange writing.
I think that this up here is very strange because not many people do it, and I'm checking in with my professor in graphology to see how many times she thinks she might have seen this in her life, because I don't see people doing this. You don't usually tent from a lowercase letter up to the stem of another letter, and we see that Michael Yor is actually doing that. And then I looked at all his V's in interview. And this one particular V right here that has the red line underneath it, if you look up there, it is identical in shape and form and relation to the other letters around it. I was like, holy crap, we might be onto something here. And the fact that if he did remove it, he may have signed it in a way or manipulated his handwriting in a way that it couldn't be determined who it was that removed it, so they couldn't call him out.
The printing is like a first grader, and the signature's kind of fancy. It's really odd combination.
Well, and it's not, and what I see these tremors, I see these bulkiness, these angles. It's not like it's written with fluidity and speed. If we go back to what Cunningham had said about fluidity and speed, these look like they're lacking it, almost as somebody's faking it. So when you fake something you're not familiar with, you're going to have that slow, awkward drawing that's tremulous, just like he stated in somebody who was writing slowly. So I'm starting to think now that this is likely, and the number 9 matched, the P's matched, the number 6 is matched. The 2 looks a little bit awkward, especially when you write this fluid and smoothly. That looks very, very strange to me. It doesn't look like it's natural at all, but that's going to be the avenue that I focus on. For this, come on here. Yeah. Now let's go to another spot, because I think it shows this letter D even better. So now do we see in the word on the right-hand side dated? We can see that E, how it draws right up through the center of the bowl and into the stem. Back down, wraps around counterclockwise, leaving no tail or stem on the right-hand side of the D. I thought, holy crap, I think this might be the person who did it. We also got this connection, or this flat top R, which we see happening in one of these. Again, I'm looking for something that's written more freely, something that isn't like police officers are taught to write a certain way to be clear so that everybody can understand the communication. So sometimes that's not always as natural for them. This may be a more natural handwriting for Mr. Yor, where this is, I need everybody to be able to read it writing. Either way, he is doing something over and over again in the letter D, where he's trailing that letter all the way up to the top of that stem. And that's what we're seeing happen here in the D in I removed. So that's where we're going to focus. Let's move on. We are done with that. More handwriting, though. So last week we left off on the 1987, October 28th, 1987 Zodiac communication, which is kind of deemed as another Halloween communication, as we know that the Zodiac had submitted back during his reign as the Zodiac Killer. And some of the things that I was pointing out here were going to be these letter Ds, because these are in the presentation and we have talked about these. But if you look at these letter Ds and in comparison to the Ds in the 1986 letter that was confirmed by Terrence Pascoe as being from the Zodiac Killer, you'll see that those letter Ds are consistent with each other. And these communications are 1 year apart, everybody. 1986, 1987. We go into the G's. We have these tiny little bowls with these very long tails. You go over into the SLA letter, or into the, see where we found, up over here on the side in the word speaking. Again, tiny little bowl, very elongated actual stem of the G, which is consistent between the two. Let's see, D's, G's. Oh, scratch outs. Let's talk about the heavy scratch outs. I mean, clearly.
Quick question. The SLA letter on the bottom right, where does that come from?
That is a letter that the Zodiac Killer wrote. And he's writing it at the time. At the time, Patty Hearst is in the mix of everything.
Okay.
If that helps you identify. So basically, we've got, we've been talking about how Hearst's involvement with these communications being passed and forth is evident. And then, of course, we have the major media mogul's daughter, who's supposedly kidnapped, brainwashed, commits a bank robbery, and then gets off and is pardoned at some point in time. Either way, that's what that one was from. So basically, and then the a friend is a sign off that we see in these communications, or a version of the MO of a sign off. But when I was looking at these little scratch outs here and there, now, of course, these ones go up and down. These ones are up and down and side to side. Like he's literally trying to obliterate whatever it is that he was trying to, or started to say, in order to recreate that sentence. But here we've got sideways, sideways, up and down, up and down, up in here. So I find that the crossouts are they're going basically in the same directions. They're just as heavy. They are obliterating and making it impossible to see what was written underneath it. And that is consistent with these authors as well. There's another one.
Stenographic Code 101. You don't know.
I don't know. Know.
It's perfect though.
Yeah, literally. All right. So that brings us to your solve, Harriette. Yay!
Yeah,
and
that was the solve, and that's why. And then it'll be mentioned briefly in that lilac envelope. But yes,
well, we're not to the lilac envelope just yet.
But that's the solve, and I got it. I got it right here.
No. But I'm not at that one yet.
No.
Let me control the show. Let me control the show.
No, I got the sloppy to ace detective. You want me to read it?
Yes. So I want to go, but I want to preempt everybody first. This is the April 1978 letter that they tried to convince everybody was a fraud or a forgery by Tashi, which I do not find. I find that this was absolutely written by the Zodiac Killer, and I believe other document examiners believe that as well. So this one was the Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking. I am back with you. Tell Herb Caen I am here. I've always been here. That city pig Tashi is good, but I am smarter and better. He will get tired, then leave me alone. I am waiting for a good movie about me. Who will play me? I am now in control of all things. Yours truly, and Zodiac symbol guess. So go ahead and read your solve for that.
But this is the I am crack-proof stenographic code. But I'll still read it though, because there's a separate one for the other one.
We're going to get to that one. We're going to get to, just read this one.
No, this is I am crack proof. So it says, it comes out as to the sloppy ace detective Toshi, the Irishman is to bludgeon the shitty screen actor chef Gus Starr, bug District of Columbia Commander-in-Chief Carter, pause, to paint Scottsdale, Arizona wall sideways with Bob Crane's head blood.
Okay, so then this is the other letter. This is not this one.
Yeah, this is because there is the original one. That's what it was reused in the lilac envelope. So there's two.
Correct.
There's two.
Yes.
So I can read that one too.
No, I'm not there yet. I'm trying to understand this one. So the I am crack proof really is the stenographic code and solve from the 1987 letter is what you're saying.
No, this is 1978.
Oh, okay. So this is the solve. I just don't understand the car movie because this doesn't reference the car movie.
Oh, no, it's in there. It's
not. Not in this one.
It's in the I am crack proof. Here it is. Come on now.
It's not the mention of the car movie is not in this communication.
It's this one.
I just read the communication. It does not. The car is the 1987.
Yeah, no, that's 19. No, that movie came out in 1978.
77. It came out in 77. Yes, the car movie came out in 1977.
Yeah. So let's just keep moving because there's two letters from 1978. One is the crack proof, and the other one is in control of all things.
So now you're saying the 1987 letter was written in 1978 instead of 1987?
No, the facsimile was, and it's included in there.
I'm confused. I hope we're not confusing everybody, guys. This is the 1978 letter. You're stating that, but because I'm reading the top where it says the car movie, there's no mention. There's a mention about a movie, but he's talking about who will play him in a movie, not the car. The car comes here next. Let's just go to that one. So basically, we then looked and found, like I said, on zodiacciphers.com, and found the lilac envelope that you're talking about. This one is written to the Vallejo Times Herald versus the other one that was written to the San Francisco Chronicle. And indicating that it was written October 28th of 1987 as another or close to Halloween communication. And I think that he is talking about Halloween night in this particular one, but you went ahead and did a decode not only on the letter itself, but also on the envelope, correct?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't thinking I was going to go delving back into the 19th century with this one, but yeah, we can keep going. This is amazing, this weird coincidence.
Okay,
so I had to identify everything possible on the envelope. And we had a discussion about that. We believe this was 1987, 1988-ish every year. And anyways, to make that long story short, I saw 6 stamps there. I did everything I could to identify it. And those 2 big stamps that are from 1985 or commemorative size stamps. They are huge. And then everything in there has something to do with what happened with the Civil War, 1800s, 1860s, 1880s. I mean, next thing I know, I'm looking at Jack the Ripper stuff.
Okay, but there's only 2 stamps on this envelope, not 6.
No, there's 6. I saw 6 in there. You can barely see it. There's 2 sideways, right in the middle, one sideways, the other one's up, and then there's another sideways, and they're kind of like crammed in. And Jack did something like an early version of a Photoshop with the Xerox thing. And they're crammed in, and you're supposed to identify everything. And I found these stamps in there. And then they all match boxes.
So you're saying these boxes to the left, the actual flag is secondary stamps.
Because there's stamps kind of looking like they're on top of each other. We've seen that before with other of the stuff that he's done, where you see the pictures, they're kind of crammed in and they're really sideways, upside down, etc.
So you're saying the American flag stamps or
those are huge.
Over stamps below them?
There's
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. So I see. Okay, there you go.
I see 4 if what you're saying is these extracurricular boxes
I see 6.
Are secondary stamps.
So anyways, to make a long, to fast forward.
Box. And
maybe they're barely there. And then when I was looking for the other half of the stamps that were matching this from 1985 from London, those are the blurry stamps that I found just like that. So anyways, make them more blurrier. It's a really complex process, but I looked at those and they are telling about the history, not just their history in London, it's the history of the Postal Service. The very first person who was on the first ever adhesive stamp was Queen Victoria, and it got very popular with the lilac penny, which is 1881, 1880s, 1888 especially. So once I saw all of that, I said, holy crap, I'm in Jack the Ripper, and I didn't think I was going to, and I've been doing Jack the Ripper stuff since I was in the hospital. It's really weird. My head was just blowing a gasket. And
so these stamps down here have the Queen on them?
Yeah, I have, let me see if I can get my picture of it. I was so excited.
Here's the color version. I do have the color version in here.
She's there.
That's the 17p.
That's the history of not only their stamp history, it's the world's history. She's the first person ever on an adhesive stamp, and it has to do with 1837 and 1840. And then our people went over to England to create that first stamp. There are Americans involved, New England. And then let's get really bizarre. Skull and Bone Society Stenographic Code.
All right, let's get there. Let's get there. All right. So on this, I have the lilac envelope, and you believe that lilac is a tie back to the lilac penny. What is the lilac penny?
Definitely. It's the world's most first historic stamp. I'm so excited about it. If I had money, I'd get some. But anyways, it's very historic. And then that ties into our actual postal service system because it gets started there in London. And it's mind-blowing amazing. So it's too much to get involved with.
Right. So you have to solve. You have to solve on this envelope, and I'm on page 1 of 2 here. Well, I actually have both of them up. Page 1
yes.
and 2 of it. Do you want to go ahead and read what you believe you found from that envelope?
Yes, it's what I got is April 2nd, 2005, President George H.W. Bush and son, President George W. Bush. Facsimile, that it's a fax. At the time, and I got the time in there, 6:34 p.m. Eastern Time, His Holiness, the Totus Tuus 999 Pope died. I'm mad again. He's really stressing. His head is blown. And then it's saying, please, ubi jus remedium. AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. Where's the remedy? And then he's calming down. He's saying, I'm on a mission. NASA, goddamn effort to die. I'm to gut him July 14th, 2005. And the BNS Railroad is to run Robert Abel over. That happened. Anyways, regarding your request, this is where my head was blowing. On 3/4/2005, that's my birthday, by the way, my answer is this way. I sent July 31st, 1969 for R.A., that's Randolph Apperson Hearst, the big news story plugged by the media, newspapers. Please rush to editor George Henningsen, that's the editor, Zodiac Letters, Vallejo Times Herald, Vallejo, California, but it's abbreviated, Calif. Anyways, 94590 envelope. You're asking, yes, I can crack R.A. Cent Opt 1987 Centennial of 1887 events, brown envelope from 1A North St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, to England, Great Britain, with 4 Royal Mail 17p. The 17p, you're not going to understand why that's important.
So that's what I was saying, like, okay.
Yeah, 17p stamps, 2 sideways, 1985 booklet pane. All this is in there. Perforations, 14 by 15. Pause, 30 mm. That's, anyways, then pause, 41 mm. He can't breathe. He's having trouble breathing. So anyways, with 22 cents Frank J. Wesleck stamps, flag over Capitol Hill building. Please focus on the blurry 350th anniversary stamp. Has historic first adhesive stamp reference to 1837 Queen Victoria image used for 1840 historic first, and then he's pausing, Bureau of Printing and Engraving, that's our side of the stamps. Booklet pane, Frank Wesleck, today I sent proof I can crack Randolph Apperson Hearst's father, William Randolph Apperson Hearst's father. Oh my God. Jack the Ripper letters. I sent both facsimile of 1978 Zodiac era letter with similar stenographic code found in Jack the Ripper communications, a postcard and letters. My God, my head was blowing. Anyways, dear editor, the Zodiac printing, night, way it's misspelled, VPD-0, catch me if can, guess, that's a question. So with the missing punctus interrogativus, you're not going to get that. But anyways, the symbol, now known as question mark, and the letter is missing exclamation marks, just like Jack the Ripper ones. This is all in this. Anyways, the truth, wait a minute, the symbol, Zodiac symbol, that has code keys. And then it's saying, oh, FYI, to tell the truth, TTTT, his favorite thing. I also sent my DNA on the Robert Graysmith Halloween card envelope in the adhesive Earthrise stamp. I Xerox copied my printing of the 94950 Vallejo Calif envelope using a lilac color paper to prove I can crack the circa 1888 lilac penny stamp R.A. Hearst's father's, William Randolph Hearst, Jack the Ripper letters, sent to Scotland Yard, care of Queen Elizabeth, again sent 1987 via CIA in an IBM PC440 computer using TT, Tattletale, Dennis Kaufman's America Online account. My God, he had one. Identification, and based on very limited IBM color data, the Oct. 1888 Saucy Jack postcard photogravure. He had luck. He found the same code keys. The code keys are President Benjamin Harrison in the same Skull and Bones Society standardgraph system. I know how to create. I know he's saying this. Such coded missives by, so again, I can crack them. Civil War Lincoln Confederate Secret Service spy John Surratt II in messages to William Randolph Hearst. He photogravure printed both the SP-17, that's abbreviation for September, 1888, and SP-27. One's a postcard, one's the letter. Anyways, 1888, one is the postcard, the other is a letter, which has...
Okay, we've got 2 seconds. I'm sorry to have to cut you off, Harriette.
Oh my God!
Just run out of time. I know we're gonna have to come. We're gonna have to come back to it and finish that off for everybody next week. So we'll start that one over next week, and then I'll have some questions for you. Yeah.
Real quick, with John Surratt, the brother of Mary Surratt.
We don't have time. We're gonna. You guys, we have to end the show. Yes, we'll cover all of this next week. Thank you both for being here, and we'll get with you guys. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next Friday.
Okay.
Oh,